I got a call from my boy Fady. He's a realtor. He says, Eric, I have a friend who closed on his property 2 years ago. He's coming up to renew on his mortgage, and he kind of wants to know what else is there aside from RBC. So I say, no problem. Send him my way. I got you, boy. So he sends the email introduction. The client books a call. We get on the discovery call. So client tells me that he knew the guy at RBC, and he set him up with a 2-year fix because at the time the rates were slowly going to be climbing up. So in hindsight, I look back and said nobody was doing a 2-year fixed 2 years ago in 22. A little messed up. So anyways, sometimes at bank branches, they have trouble walking and chewing gum at the same time. So it doesn't surprise me. Anyways, so we start talking about mortgage rate options, and we're talking about fixed, we're talking about variable, we're talking about adjustable rate. And he's aware of the differences between the variable rate and the adjustable rate. So he knows that RBC only offers a variable rate, which is a fixed mortgage payment. And every time the Bank of Canada changes prime rate, it's the amortization that changes. So he's aware of that, doesn't like it. I was like, you know what? The adjustable rate's right up your alley. And he agreed, because what happens is the reverse. In an adjustable rate mortgage, it's the mortgage payment that changes with every Bank of Canada cut. So he wanted something like that. I was like, I got you. Continue on our call, and looking at his overall profile, verifiable income, we call it in the industry, which is salaried income, very easy to verify the income. His wife had 2 jobs, part-time job, and she was self-employed. So looking at kind of the details of that, they have good credit, debts were pretty decent. I mean, you have the mortgage balance, but you also had car payment, which was on a lease, and assets were good. Everything looked pretty kosher, generally speaking. And so the neat thing is that we proposed the adjustable rate mortgage knowing that it was higher than the current fixed rates. But that's okay, because we know that the Bank of Canada is going to be cutting rates moving forward. And worst case scenario, if the borrower gets kind of, cold feet, then he could always convert from an adjustable rate mortgage over to a fixed rate. At any point, no fees, no penalties with their existing lender. So that was his exit strategy, and he felt very comfortable with that. That's what we did. Another thing to note is that because he had an insured mortgage, we were able to transfer his existing mortgage away from RBC over to a new lender at contract rate. So whatever rate we were getting on the application versus stress testing it. That only applies to insured mortgages, but that really worked in our favor because from the income standpoint, we didn't have to use his wife's self-employed income. We could just use her part-time income and his full-time income, and away we went. So that's exactly what he did, and he was super happy because we chose a lender that was super responsive. His mortgage was coming due to renew, and the issue that we got into was that once we ask RBC for the payout statement, sometimes that takes just the time it takes. Some lenders are quicker than others. And so once the payout statement is received, we know exactly the mortgage to the penny to be paid out. So sometimes that could take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It really depends on the lender, and that's out of our hands, unfortunately. So in the meantime, client reached out to RBC and said, you know what, just renew me into an open mortgage. That's it. And so that's what you should do. And then once we get the payout statement, then the lender that we're working with says, okay, we're going to pay out RBC and we're going to set you up with our mortgage. And that's what happened. And we want to make sure that whatever lender that we're using is very, very responsive, because you don't want to stay in an open mortgage for too long because they're insanely expensive. They are, yeah. So most of them are like a prime plus 2%, and it's calculated per day. So you want to make sure that that time that you have the open mortgage is minimized as much as possible. So anyways, we use a super fast lender and everything wrapped up very quickly, and away we went. Client couldn't be happier.